Hari, let me. Right, I won. Good afternoon. Right. Pudami, just while live, just let me know whether you can hear me properly. Mava clearly, I know the kilometer can live again. Right. You can hear me properly, right? Right. Fine. Right. Listen to me, Lamai. Today, from today onwards, we are going to, commence a new lesson, right? This is going to be a new project, and I'll be doing this for next 3 months. July, August, September. 3 months will be there, right? 3 months will be consumed so that we can finish the lesson. If I briefly explain you about what we did and so, right? For last 4 months, March, April, May and June, for last 4 months we conducted first lesson which is called atomic structure. Terapi atomic structure kena lesson එක මේ අන්තිම මාස 4 කරා. Right? තොර අද පටන් ගන්නේ structure and bonding. තොර July, August, September කියන මාස තුනේ මම මේ structure and bonding කියන lesson එක කරනවා. හරි. තොර once first 2 lessons are completed, right? Unit 1, Unit 2 කියන lessons දෙක complete කරපුවාම it gives the foundation to organic and inorganic chemistry. Okay? So we have 3 lessons as the basis, the foundation of the subject, right? Which is called general chemistry, which gives you the general knowledge regarding chemistry, so that you can get enrolled with the university degrees and all. So the degree program එක register වෙන්න chemistry වල තියෙන්න ඕනේ basic chemistry part එක cover කරන්නේ මේ general chemistry වලින්, right? Based on this general chemistry platform, we have 3 deep subject areas to be covered, right? Said to be organic chemistry, inorganic chemistry and physical chemistry. Right? Physical chemistry will be based on Unit 3, where organic and inorganic chemistry may based on Unit 1 and 2. So, Unit 1 and 2 would lay the foundation to development of inorganic and organic. Unit 3 will develop the foundation for physical chemistry. So, this is a different, isolated, distinct kind of area of study. So, මේ තියෙන වෙනම පිළර් එකක්. මේ දෙක parallelly කරන් යන්න පුළුවන්. يعني කවුරුන් ළමයට පුළුවන් A level chemistry syllabus එක ඉගෙන ගන්නකොට, right? Either they can do Unit 1, 2 and then they can move on to inorganic and organic. Inorganic means Unit number 6. Organic means Unit number 7, 8, 9 and 10. Physical chemistry has 2 stages, right? Physical chemistry first phase, Unit 3 and 4, Unit 4 and 5, right? The second phase is Unit 11, 12 and 13. Right. Once everything been completed, then comes the final part, 14th unit, where we learn how these chemistry concepts are being used to run businesses. How chemical industries are being run. The chemical industry එක කියන්නේ raw materials වලින් මොකක් හරි chemical එකක් produce කරලා මේ ලොකු capacities වලින් production එකක් කරද්දී අර test tube එකක් ඇතුලේ තියෙන optimum conditions ම කොහොමද ලොකු factory එකක් ඇතුලේ අපි maintain කරන්නේ. ඒ factory එක environmental friendly විදිහට කොහොමද operate කරන්නේ. ඒතකොට industrial and environmental chemistry concepts, the basic concepts of industrial and environmental chemistry will be discussed here. So this is a combination of all these, inorganic, organic and physical chemistry. This inorganic, organic and physical will build up based on this general chemistry platform. Now we are going to commence the second lesson where we are at the moment, right? So I'll briefly explain you how my process is going on, right? So mama me structure and bonding part එක කරනවා. එතකොට lesson 1 එක මාත් එක්ක මුලින් ඉඳන් හිටපු ළමයින්ට මම ගිය සතියේ ඉවර කරා. So they are ready with it. We did past paper questions for last 25 years. We did all the term test papers. We did exercises selected from books and everything, right? It was a comprehensive study. We completed our workbook, past paper book and tute. So we are done with it now. තොර මාත් එක්ක ඒ lesson එකේ හිටපු නැති ළමයි ඔක්කොටම පුතා, for all of you guys, the first lesson can be covered as a course එකක් විදිහට first lesson එක cover කරන්න පුළුවන්. ඒතර අපි last 4 months වල කරපු classes ඔක්කොම videos විදිහට attach කරලා අපේ e-chemistry website එකේ course එකක් තියෙනවා. ඒකට one time payment එකක් කරලා ඒක active කරගත්තාම it expires on, I mean it exists, it stays active for 100 days. දවස් 100ක් එක active stage එකේ තියෙනවා. ඒතර within that 100 days you can finish off. ඒ කියන්නේ මම second lesson එක කරනකම් මේ July August September කියන trimester එකේ ඔයාට ඊට parallelly මේ first lesson එක ඉවර කරගන්න පුළුවන්. හරි? ඒතර ඒ කිසි මම කියන්නේ July ඉඳන් අපිත් එක්ක මේ second lesson එකේ ඉඳන් join වෙන ළමයින්ට you don't miss anything. You can cover up everything without any harm. Right? ඒ course එක activate කරගන්නට අපි ඒ tute pack එක මේ post එකේ එවනවා. So through our website echemistry.lk you can do it. Regarding that, you can call this number for any kind of an inquiry. For any inquiries you can call this 0777 50 that's our hotline. You can call it at any given time and inquire about this and get it enrolled and get the tutes and do whatever the necessary stuff. Right? Anyway, I'll be moving to my project. So mama me ape Friday 3 to 6 tamai class එක repeat can be watched at any convenient time starting from Sunday to Thursday. 5 days repeat එක තියෙනවා. You can watch at any convenient time. For the online guys, I'm telling, physical class and the live class will be held every Friday 3 to 6. Right, here Buddha, bonding lesson will be covered within July, August and September. 3 months will be consumed from your time. Okay, right, now I'll be moving to the structure of second lesson. Right, I'll tell you how second lesson is composed with. Right, we know it's structure and bonding. Structure and bonding. Right, Buddha, here, right, listen to me very carefully. As the name implies, it talk about structures, chemical structures of different species. So we are going to study what is going to be the chemical structure of a covalent compounds. You have heard the word covalent compounds. One of the covalent compounds kila කියන්නේ covalent bonds වලින් electrons share කරගෙන form වෙන covalent bonds වලින් constituent atoms ටික combine වුණාම හැදෙන ඒවාට තමයි covalent compounds කියන්නේ. Is it? Right, you know, CO2 is a covalent compound. CO2 කියලා කියන්නේ covalent compound එකක්. Carbon and oxygen atoms are bound by means of covalent bonds to form the what do you call that? To form the molecule. So it's a covalent compound. CO2. ඒ වගේ කට්ටිය තමයි covalent compounds කියලා කියන්නේ. But there are certain other chemical structures where constituents are positive cations and negatively charged anions. Cations උයි anions උයි තමයි මාරුවෙන් මාරුවට ionic bonds වලින් bound වෙලා ඒ structure එක develop වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. Those are said to be ionic compounds. Okay. So there are something called metals. Metals වල තියෙන්නේ අමුතුම internal structure එකක්. ඒ metal piece එකේ තියෙන atoms ටික එයාලගේ තියෙන outermost electrons release කරලා free electron cloud එකක් හදා ගන්නවා. ඒකේ නිකන් හරියට ලොකු මේ lake එකක තියෙන islands වගේ, right? මේ stable, මේ move වෙන්නේ නැති, stationary, stable, non moving, electron removed cations ටික position වෙලා තියෙනවා. electron cloud එකක cations position වුණු structure එකක් තමයි එහෙම එකක තියෙන්නේ. So that is said to be the metallic bond. So the metals වල, ionic compounds වල, covalent compounds වල chemical structure එක, ඒ structure එක build up වෙන්න එක එක types වල bonds create වෙලා තියෙන විදිහ, ඔන්න ඔය structures and bonds ගැන ඉගෙන ගන්න lesson එක තමයි අපි අද පටන් ගන්නේ. This is very crucial. මේක එන crucial lesson එකක් because this lays the foundation for organic and inorganic subject areas, sections. You know, organic and inorganic, it covers around 50% of the mark, nearly 45% of the mark. final marking 45% වලට organic inorganic they have direct and indirect relationships. So organic inorganic වලට base එක තමයි මේ structure and bonding lesson එකේ හදන්නේ. හරිද? හරි. පුතා මේ structure and bonding lesson එක මම කිව්වා වගේ I'm going to do this for next 3 months. මාස 3ක් විතර මම කරනවා. Right? So there will be around 12 chapters. හරි? chapters 12ක් විතර සාමාන්‍යයෙන් මේ lesson එකේ තියෙනවා. හරි මම නිකන් ඔයාලට roughly පෙන්නොත් මෙන්න මේ විදිහට නිකන් chapters 12ක විතර content එකක් තියෙනවා. මේ සාමාන්‍යයෙන් අපි lesson එකක් කරන්නේ පොඩි chapters වලට කඩලා so that you will get very clear note, crystal clear note for convenience of your study. Lessing study කරන්න පුළුවන් එතකොට අපිට ඒක. එතකොට මේ විදිහට chapters 12කට විතර කඩලා තමයි අපි content එක කරන්නේ. හරි. එතකොට මේකේ මම අද මේ අපේ first class day එක විදිහට chapter 1 එකයි chapter 2 එකයි ඔයාලත් එක්ක complete කරන්න තමයි expect කරන්නේ. හරි. So chapter 1 is the introduction to the lesson. Chapter 2 is going to be one major component where we discuss about covalent bonding. You know what covalent bonding is? Electron sharing is been done, right? The covalent bonding part එක තමයි chapter 2 එකේ අපි discuss කරන්නේ. හරිද? ඒතර chapter 1 chapter 2 දෙක මම අද discuss කරන්න expect කරනවා. එතකොට මේ we have a nice tute pack which is printing at the moment. It will take few days when we receive it, like next Monday, Tuesday, like we'll receive the tute pack. So from next Wednesday onwards, we'll be putting it to the shipments, right? We'll be posting it for the online students and all. For physical students, all the time puta me next Friday mama tute pack එක දෙනවා. But not from next Friday, from 17th Friday onwards, I'll be discussing the things by means of tute. Man tute එක base කරන් තමයි කරන්නේ. For today and next Friday, first 2 class days වලට පළවෙනි chapters 3 මම සාමාන්‍ය විදිහට note එකක් ලියලා normal class එකක විදිහට කරනවා because you don't have the tute. Okay? Right. So I need you to take several pieces of papers so that you can write the note as a conventional class. Once you receive your tute, right? Once you receive your tute, you have to write whatever the note been written on your tute. Tute එකේ මේ notes ටික ඔක්කොම ලියලා tute එකේ වැඩ ටික complete කරන්න ඕනේ because we are running based on the tute. තේරුණේ? හරිනේ? ක්ලියර්නේ? හරි. එතකොට මේ second lesson එකේ වැඩ ටික තමයි එහෙනම් පටන් ගන්න තියෙන්නේ. Shall we start? Okay. Right. We'll commence, no? Right. ළමයි. Okay. Listen to me. Here. Take it very relaxedly. හරිද? Don't push so hard. Just listen to me very carefully. Go with the note. That's all. Here. So first of all, I'm going to give you a general introduction regarding structures and bonding, types of chemical bonding and stuff like that. Okay. Right. You may write the main unit which will be taught for next 3 months starting from today. It's unit 2, the second unit of 14th unit, 14 unit syllabus. And we have 14 unit syllabus. This is going to be the second one. Right? Write down the main topic. Unit 2, structure and bonding. Unit 2, structure and bonding. You will be getting a nice clear file with a comprehensive tute, workbook and past paper question book. Those 3 components will be there in your clear file when you receive it next Friday like. Okay. Unit 2, structure and bonding. Structure and bonding. Right. Have our team published the marking scheme for your workbook and PPQ? Yes, right? Good. Right. Unit 2, structure and bonding. Right. Under which you may put chapter 1. Chapter 1, the first subunit or first little bit of, area of study under second lesson, right? Chapter 1, introduction. Introduction. Chapter 1, Introduction. Okay, right. Listen to me, brother. If someone asks you, what are chemical bonds? And so that is going to be the first question, right? What are chemical bonds? What do you mean by chemical bond? Right? Simple question. Right? Buddha, chemical bonds are being formed. I mean, if I tell you the requirement, mangata requirement take a keyword, right? Chemical bonds කියලා කියන්නේ high energy unstable species එකක් low energy stable species එකක් වෙන්න හරි තමයි මේගොල්ලෝ ෆෝම් කරන්නේ ෆෝම් කරන ඒවට තමයි අපි කියන්නේ chemical bonds කියලා. Okay, I mean if I go with the definition, chemical bonds are being formed in order to, I mean, yes, if I define it in this way, and if I go with the definition, right, high energy unstable species will form chemical bonds to transfer itself them into low energy stable chemical species. High energy chemical species, they form chemical bonds so that they are being transferred to low energy stable chemical species. All in chemistry, we believe unstable species are having higher energy and stable species to be having lower energy. Again, අපි සාමාන්‍යයෙන් chemistry වල believe කරනවා පුතා unstable කට්ටියගේ internally contain වෙන energy එක වැඩි, stable කට්ටියගේ internally contain වෙන energy එක අඩුයි කියලා. හරි? So high energy unstable chemical species will form chemical bonds to convert themselves into low energy stable chemical component to low energy stable chemical species. Right? Pudha, if I go further, these chemical bonds can be classified into two main types. How many main types are there? I need loud answers, please. How many main types of chemical bonds are there? There are two main types of major chemical bonds. Listen to me very carefully. One type is said to be primary bonds. Now you can say the word. Other type is said to be secondary bonds. We have primary chemical bonds and secondary chemical bonds. Listen to me very carefully, okay? Primary chemical bonds, right? Primary chemical bonds combined whatever the constituents to form a molecule. Right? When we discuss about, I would say, when we discuss about carbon dioxide atom, CO2 atom here, these double bonds, they binds constituents of this molecule. Carbon atoms and oxygen atoms are said to be constituents, members of this molecule. Right? So these covalent double bonds, simply these double bonds, they bind these constituents to form the molecule. So these are said to be primary bonds. Right? These are said to be primary bonds. I'm giving you the brief idea about the lesson. Okay? Right. When we take a balloon which is filled with this carbon dioxide, there are about millions and trillions of carbon dioxide molecules in it, right? අපි බැලුන් එකකට carbon dioxide fill කරොත් ඒකේ molecules million ගාණක් තියෙනවනේ. හරි. එතකොට එහෙම situation එකක ළමයි එක carbon dioxide molecule එකකුයි තව carbon dioxide molecule එකකුයි මේ විදිහට මේ spread වෙලා තියෙන carbon dioxide molecules තියෙන්නේ. මෙන්න මේ විදිහට spread වෙලා තියෙන carbon dioxide molecules අතර in between these molecules there are moderate to weak kind of chemical attractions. කියන්නේ මේ billions millions numbers වලින් තියෙන molecules අතර in between these molecules there are certain other types of chemical bonds as well. So මේ විදිහට molecules අතර තියෙන chemical bonds, they are said to be secondary chemical bonds. Secondary chemical bonds. They are said to be secondary chemical bonds. Now you understand what I'm saying. So chemical bonds are two types, primary bonds and secondary bonds. Primary bonds, they binds constituents of a given molecule. Secondary bonds are being formed in between these molecules. Okay. So we have 5 types of secondary bonds to be studied. How many types of secondary bonds to be studied? 5 types. If I say you by name, London dispersion forces, dipole-induced dipole interactions, ion-induced dipole interactions, dipole-dipole interactions, ion dipole interactions. You don't know these names, just wait and see for 3 months. So there are 5 types of secondary bonds in chemistry. And these are more stronger. Constituents tika bind karaganna bonds tika eva more stronger. They are said to be primary bonds, primary chemical bonds. We have 3 types of primary chemical bonds: covalent bonds, ionic bonds, and metallic bonds. What are the 3 types of primary bonds? Tell me. Covalent bonds, talk louder please. Ionic bonds, metallic bonds. There are 3 types of primary bonds and 5 types of secondary bonds available. Right. All these bonds are formed to cater what objective? Mono requirement එක cater කරන්නද මේ bonds ඕන එකක් හැදෙන්නේ? To convert high energy containing unstable species to what? To become low energy containing stable species. Right. Keep this thing noted, Pudha. Out of subatomic particles, you know, there are 3 main types of subatomic particles: electrons, protons, and neutrons. Out of these 3 types of subatomic particles, it is electrons. Electrons, they transfer from one position to another. Sometimes they are being shared between 2 or 3 species. Right? Electrons, they involved in this bond formation process. So the high energy species එකක්, low energy species එකක් වෙන්න තමයි bonds form වෙන්නේ. Bonds form වෙන්න subatomic particles වලින් electrons තමයි involved වෙන්නේ. Bonds can be categorized into 2 major types: primary bonds and secondary bonds. There are 3 subcategories of primary bonds: covalent bonds, ionic bonds, and metallic bonds. There are 5 subcategories of secondary bonds. Understood? So that is the introduction. So we'll write a proper note under chapter 1 introduction. අපි අද main lesson එක covalent bonds. But අපි මේ intro එක ටක් ගාලා විනාඩි 15ක් විතර අරගෙන පොඩ්ඩක් complete කරලා දාමු. Okay? Right. You may continue your writing. ලියන්න පුතා. Chemical bonds are being formed. Chemical bonds are being formed chemical bonds are being formed by unstable high energy containing chemical species. Unstable high energy containing chemical species. Chemical bonds are being formed by unstable high energy containing chemical species chemical bonds are being formed by unstable high energy containing chemical species to convert themselves into stable low energy containing chemical species. Convert themselves into stable low energy containing chemical species. to convert themselves into stable, low energy containing chemical species. Stable, low energy containing chemical species. Right. අපි අලුත් පැරග්‍රාෆ් එක දෙමු. You may leave a rule and come to a new para. හරිද? අපි රූල කතා කරලා අලුත් පැරා එකකට එන්න. Releasing of energy. Releasing of energy releasing of energy in order to become releasing of energy in order to become more and more stable. Releasing of energy in order to become more and more stable. Releasing of energy in order to become more and more stable can be understood. Can be understood can be understood by analyzing the variation of total energy by variation of total energy in front of internuclei distance. In front of internuclei distance by variation of total energy in front of internuclei distance. In front of internuclei distance. Okay, Puda. Right. Listen. Let's say these two atoms, they are gonna form a bond. මේ දෙන්න බොන්ඩ් එකක් හදන්න යන්නේ කියලා හිතන්නකෝ. හරි? ඒතර මේ දෙන්නගේ නියුක්ලියස් දෙක අතර තියෙන ඩිස්ටන්ස් එක, ඉන්ටර්නියුක්ලියයි ඩිස්ටන්ස් එකයි මේ දෙන්න කන්ටේන් කරගෙන ඉන්න මුළු එනර්ජි එකයි, ටෝටල් එනර්ජි එකයි මම වෙන වෙනම කැල්කියුලේට් කරලා ටෝටල් එනර්ජි එක y axis එකටයි ඉන්ටර්නියුක්ලියයි ඩිස්ටන්ස් එක x axis එකටයි අරගෙන I'm gonna plot something, plot a graph. Okay? Right? You know what has happened? I mean, for any kind of bond formation process, right? The graph is having a shape like this, Buddha. When the internuclei distance is very less, nuclei are more and more closer. They are very close to each other. The internal energy of these two species becomes very high. Right? With the gradual increment of internuclei distance, right? The total energy contained by these two atoms, it becomes gradually lower. එක ටික 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 අඩු වෙන්න ගන්නවා. internuclei distance එක වැඩි වෙනකොට. Right? It comes to a bottom point at one point. At one point, it comes to the least value, the bottom minimum value. With then, when we increase the internuclei distance, it becomes higher again. ඔයාලට තේරෙනවද මං කියන්නේ එක? බොන්ඩ් එකක් ෆෝම් වෙන atoms දෙකක internuclei distance එක ගොඩ වැඩි නම් ඒ දෙන්නගේ යම් significant energy එකක් තියෙනවා. ඉන්ටර්නියුක්ලියර් ඩිස්ටන්ස් එක අඩු වෙනකොට ඒ දෙන්නගේ කන්ටේන් වෙන එනර්ජි එක අඩු වෙනවා. ඊට පස්සේ අය තව අපි ඉන්ටර්නියුක්ලියර් ඩිස්ටන්ස් එක අඩු කර මුන් දෙන්න ඕනෙවට වඩා ලං කරන්න ගියොත් when their nuclei become more and more closer, the total energy contained is going to be significantly high. මුලින් තිබ්බටත් වඩා higher figure එකක් වෙනවා ඒක. Understood what I'm saying? So if I move these atoms from this way to this way, මේ distance එක වැඩි, distance එක අඩුයි, distance එක ගොඩ අඩුයි. If I move from this way to this way, right, the graph is going to be seen like this. අපි graph එක පේන්නේ මෙන්න මේ විදිහට. හරි. ඒතර අපි මෙන්න මේ plot එක ඇඳලා දාමුද? මේක අපි මෙහෙම phases තුනක් පෙන්නමු. internuclear distance එක ගොඩක් අඩුයි. ඊට වඩා ටිකක් වැඩි. internuclear distance එක ගොඩක් වැඩි. මෙන්න මේ විදිහට cases තුනක් දාලා energy එක මේ විදිහට vary වෙනවා කියලා අපි ඇඳලා පෙන්නමු පුතා. ගොඩ ලොකුවට නෙමෙයි රූල් 6ක් විතර උසට නිකන් මේ plot එක දාන්න y axis එක energy, x axis එක internuclear distance. Here this is the internuclear distance. Right, I would say maximum. කොහෙද මම ලියන්නේ? මෙතන ලියන්නම්. maximum, minimum, moderate. Maximum, minimum, moderate. This is how energy goes. You will not be asked for these graphs and all in the exam, but the comprehensive understanding is expected at your level. And අපි මේ graphs ටික අඳගෙන මේක ලස්සනට කරමු. This is how it goes. internuclear distance එක අඩු වෙනකොට energy එක වැඩි වෙනවා. මේ වගේ plot එකක් තමයි එන්නේ. Right, y-axis energy, x-axis internuclei distance. When the internuclei distance is minimum, when nuclei are very close to each other, the total energy contained by these two atoms is going to be significantly high. It becomes minimum at a moderate point. When the internuclear distance is very high, then also the total energy contained is not the minimum. It has a significant value then also. Okay. Right, Pudha, here, listen to me very carefully. So, this is the point, listen to me, Pudha. This is the point where we believe the bond has formed. එකනේ මේ atoms දෙක අතර bond එක form වෙන point එක විදිහට අපි ගන්නෙ මෙන්න මේ minimum energy point එක. Okay. Right, so this is the point of bond formation. හරි. එතකොට මෙන්න මේ bond formation point එකේදී හරි මෙන්න මේ bond formation point එකේදී ඒ බොන්ඩ් එක ෆෝම් කරන ඇටම්ස් දෙක අතර තියෙන දෙකේ නියුක්ලියස් දෙක අතර තියෙන internuclei distance එක, the internuclei distance at the point of bond formation is said to be the bond length of that particular bond. ඒ ෆෝම් වෙන බොන්ඩ් එකේ කවුරු කියලාද අපි ඒකට කියන්නේ? bond length එක කියලා. The energy minimum point, the minimum energy point, this is said to be the bond formation point. Bond formation point. Right? This is said to be the bond formation point. Understood what I said? Right? You may represent these points as well. The energy minimum point, the minimum energy point is said to be the bond formation point. The internuclei distance, the x coordinate value at the point of bond formation is said to be the bond length of that particular bond. Right? Is said to be the bond length of that particular bond. Right. You may put a bullet point and write point එකක් දාලා තරුවක් දාලා ලියන්න. Right. The point at which total energy contained by the point at which the total energy contained by membering atoms who are going to form the bond, membering atoms who are going to form the bond are having minimum possible energy membering atoms who are going to form the bond are having minimum possible energy is said to be you may use a red pen and write bond formation point is said to be bond formation point is said to be bond formation point is said to be bond formation point while normally while the internuclei distance at bond formation point මේ bond formation point එකේ තියෙන internuclei distance එක. The internuclei distance at bond formation point is known as අපව රතු පෑනෙන් ලියන්න. You may use a red pen. Bond length normally continue කරන් යන් of that particular bond. Bond length of that particular bond is known as bond length of that particular bond. හරි. රූලක් දෙකක් අතරලා normal paragraph එක ලියන්න. හරි. ලියන්න. Among all subatomic particles among all subatomic particles. Electrons are found to be among all subatomic particles. Electrons are found to be among all subatomic particles. Electrons are found to be involved in bond formation process. 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 Ahead of protons and neutrons. 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 Full stop. Harry, you may continue on that same paragraph. Electrochemical cell operation. Electrochemical cell operation. Electrochemical cell operation. Comma. Electrolysis process. Electrolysis or else electrolysis. You can pronounce whatever the way you want. It's okay. Electrolysis or else electrolysis process. Electrochemical cell operation, comma, electrolysis process, comma, ability to forecast bond formation potential. 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 Bond formation potential. Ability to forecast bond formation potential based on electronic configuration of a given species. 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 Are believed to be witness. Are believed to be witness. Sakshi. Are believed to be witness. To express the fact that. Are witness to express the fact that. Are witness to express the fact that. Electrons are involved in bond formation process. Witness, or else you can say proofs කියලා කියන්නත් පුළුවන් නේ. Witness නැත්නම් proofs. to express the fact that electrons are involved in bond formation process. Are proofs to express the fact that electrons are involved in bond formation process. Proofs කියන්නත් පුළුවන්. Right. Puda, listen to me. Okay. So we have several types of subatomic particles, electrons, protons, and neutrons. Out of all these components, electrons are believed to be involved in bond formation process. Right? Proofs for that. We need proofs for any scientific statement. No, we scientifically makari statement එක deliver කරන්න proofs ඕනේ. That's called science නේ. Reason out කරන කෙනේ science කියලා කියන්නේ. Right. Electrochemical cell operation එක proof එකක් ලු එකට. How do you say? You know, Puda, when an electrochemical cell, let's say we are getting diluted sulfuric solution for a beaker. And let's say we are inserting a copper rod and zinc rod. And let's say we are connecting those two rods based on a, what you call a copper wire or whatever. If we place a bulb there, you know, bulb will light up. Bulb එක පත්තු වෙනවා. ඇයි current එකක් flow වෙලා තියෙනවා bulb එක through. Current එකක් කියලා කියන්නේ, you know, it's a flow of electron. Current එක කියලා කියන්නේ electron flow එකක් නේ. ඒතර මේ electrochemical cell එකක් operate වෙනකොට ඒකේ තියෙන bonds කැඩිලා අලුතෙන් bonds form වෙනකොට electron current එකක් develop වෙලා තියෙනවා. Electrolysis වලදී externally electron current එකක් දුන්නාම තියෙන bonds කැඩිලා අලුතෙන් bonds form වෙනවා. ඒ කියන්නේ bond dissociation, bond formation, whatever the bond related processes වලට කාගේ interaction එකක් තියෙනවද? Electrons වල interaction එකක් තියෙනවා. Understood? Right. We can say inert gases, helium, neon, argon kind of inert gases, they are having very less potential to form bonds. අපිට inert gases වල bonds හදන්න තියෙන potential එක අඩුයි කියලා කියන්න පුළුවන්. කොහොමද අපි ඒ කියන්නේ? In their electronic configuration. Based on the electronic configuration of a given species, we can forecast whether it is going to produce more and more chemical bonds or not. So that also gives the hint that there is a relationship between electrons and bond formation. So out of these protons, neutrons, and electrons kind of subatomic particles, electrons are involved in bond formation process ahead of other two particles. So those are the proofs which confirms the fact that electrons are involved in bond formation process. Understood? Clear, right? Okay. Right. Abhi aya aluth paragraph ekකට යන්. You may move to a new paragraph and write. ලියන්න පුතා. These chemical bonds can be categorized into these chemical bonds can be categorized into two major types. Can be categorized into two major types. Two major types. As in the form of primary bonds and secondary bonds. Mainly as in the form of primary bonds and secondary bonds mainly. As in the form of primary bonds and secondary bonds mainly. හරි primary bonds and secondary bonds කියලා මේවා categorize කරන්න පුළුවන් මේ chemical bonds. කවුරු මූලික වෙලාද හැදෙන්නේ කවුරු initiate වෙලාද හැදෙන්නේ electrons initiate වෙලා. To cater what purpose මොන purpose එක cater කරන්නද හැදෙන්නේ? To convert high energy containing unstable species into low energy containing stable species. I'm giving you the background of the lesson, background of the chemical bonding. Understood what I'm saying? Right. So primary and secondary bonds in chemistry or whatever I wrote. You may continue your paragraph. A paragraph में continue कर लिया covalent bonds comma ionic bonds and metallic bonds. Covalent bonds, ionic bonds and metallic bonds are believed to be main types of primary bonds while there are 5 types of secondary bonds as well. While there are 5 types of secondary bonds as well. Right. අපි මේ flow chart එක අඳිමුද ළමයි? Right. This sums it up. Chemical bonds can be classified into 2 types, primary bonds and secondary bonds. 3 types of primary bonds are there: covalent bonds, ionic bonds and metallic bonds. 5 types of secondary bonds are there: induced dipole interactions, induced dipole interactions. මේ flow chart එක අඳින්න. Iron induced dipole interactions, dipole interactions, iron dipole interactions. Okay. මේ flow chart එක අඳින්න. හොඳට rule 8ක් විතර අරගෙන ලස්සනට send කරලා ලොකෝට අඳින්න. Right. If you can't mind read names, I'll dictate it again. Induced dipole interactions, dipole induced dipole interactions, ion induced dipole interactions, dipole interactions, ion dipole interactions. Right? අපි පොඩි example එකකින් ඕක explain කරමු. Example EG කියලා දාලා යන example. If we consider a balloon filled with carbon dioxide gas, if we consider a balloon filled with carbon dioxide gas, if we consider a balloon filled with carbon dioxide gas, a balloon filled with carbon dioxide gas, if we consider a balloon filled with carbon dioxide gas, come on. Covalent bonds exist between carbon and oxygen atoms. Covalent bonds exist between carbon and oxygen atoms. Covalent bonds exist between carbon and oxygen atoms. Can be categorized as primary bonds, can be categorized as primary bonds where induced dipole interactions, induced dipole interactions exist between induced dipole interactions exist between adjoining CO2 molecules can be identified as adjoining CO2 molecules can be identified as adjoining CO2 molecules can be identified as secondary interactions. Can be identified as secondary interactions. Okay, you may draw this diagram පුතා. तर අපි carbon dioxide gas එකෙන් fill කරපු balloon එකක් ගත්තොත් sample එකක් ගත්තොත් මේ carbon oxygen atoms අතර in between these atoms තියෙන covalent bonds අපිට කියන්න පුළුවන් primary bonds කියලා. Carbon dioxide molecules අතර among these carbon dioxide molecules in between these molecules තියෙන attractions ඒවා අපිට කියන්න පුළුවන් secondary bonds කියලා. That's how we classify it. That's how we categorize it. Right. So that is there under first chapter. ඔක තමයි මට දෙන්න ඕනේ introduction එක. හරි. පුතා you will be given 5 minutes. මම කට්ටියට විනාඩි 5ක් වෙලාව දෙනවා. Read the whole note. මේ පැයක් විතර අපි වැඩ කරපු full note එක එක සැරයක් කියවන්න. ඔය තමයි මේ පාඩමට තියෙන intro එක. If you have any single thing to be asked, the group is open. WhatsApp group, අපේ chat group එකේ තියෙනනේ ask from NJ එක. You can drop us a message so that I can directly answer your questions. For the physical students, you can raise your hands and ask, right? Anyway, 5 minutes will be given. Just read whatever the things been taught throughout, will you? What is the fifth secondary type? It's ion dipole interactions. Ion dipole interaction. So someone has written the answer also. Right. Puta, read the full note. Ask anything if you have. Finish off. The introduction part එක ඔච්චරයි. ඊට පස්සේ covalent bonding කියන part එකට අපි යනවා. chapter 2 වල වැඩ අපි පටන් ගන්නවා. chapter 2 අද complete කරන්න වෙන්නේ but chapter 2 වල භාගයක් විතර අද කරන්න පුළුවන්. The remainder of second chapter will be discussed next week. ඊළඟට paper discussion එකත් මට හිතෙන්නේ අදම we can do. අපිට අද discuss කරන්න තියෙන්නේ day pass paper 3 එක, isn't it? day pass papers 3 එකනේ. එතන මේ for newcomers අලුත් students ලට පුතා to what do you call to revise the first lesson we are conducting a paper series called day pass papers, a 10 paper set of 10 papers. හරිද? so මේ papers 10 first lesson එක අපි අර මාර්ච් ඉඳන් ජූන් වෙනකන් කරපු එක තමයි යන්නේ. ඒකේ papers දෙකක් මේ වෙනකොට අපි discuss කරලා ඉවරයි. third paper එක අද discuss කරනවා. මේ in addition to the workload that we are managing under bonding lesson. මේ bonding lesson එකේ අද workload එකට except මම ඒක කරනවා. හරි? so ඒකේ paper එක ඔයාලගේ WhatsApp channel එකට upload වෙනවා. you have an official WhatsApp channel නේ. ඒ WhatsApp channel එකට paper එක upload වෙනවා. discussion එකත් repeat එක WhatsApp channel එකට upload වෙනවා. YouTube දාලා ඒ link එක WhatsApp channel එකට upload වෙනවා. ඒ විදිහට තමයි මේ papers 10 යන්නේ. August වෙනකන් මේ papers 10 discussions යනවා. Usually I conduct the class from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. From 6:15 to 7 I'm going to do the paper discussion. හරි? අද වගේ දැන් සමහර දවසකට දවසේ කරන්න තියෙන වැඩ ටික කලින් ඉවරනොත් class time එක ඇතුලේ මේක කරලා දාන්න. ඒතර we don't need to spend extra time නේ. ඒ හින්දා අපි එහෙම කරමු. අද බලමු කොහොමද වෙන්නේ කියලා. හරි. මේ year එකේ December වෙනකන් මේ විදිහට එක slot එකයි යන්නේ. next year Jan ඉඳන් අපි we are conducting 2 slots per week. හරි? per week අපි time slots දෙකක් class එක කරනවා. Jan onwards. එතන අපි සතියේට එතකොට වැඩ for the same class fee I'll be having 2 sessions. ඒතර මාස දෙකක වැඩ එක month එක වෙන්න ගන්නවා. I'm going to finish your syllabus at the end of 2027. ඒතර exam එකට 8 months prior at the end of 2027 the syllabus will be completed for you guys, right? So that's a very better idea. ඒතර අපිට ඊට පස්සේ අන්තිම මාස 8ම full papers ටික කරලා we can prepare ourselves to the exam. So that's what I'm planning. So that will be happening for sure. Okay, read and get the introduction, will you? Right. I have several questions. I'll answer. Sir, could you please explain the graph again? So is there another second interaction called London forces? No, London forces means a synonym to induced dipole interactions පුතා. induced dipole interactions වලට synonym එකක් තමයි මේ London dispersion forces කියලා කියන්නේ. London forces කියලා කියන්නේ. So can you give a brief explanation about the graph once again? Okay. Is it unclear for you also? Here. Listen to me. Hari, Puda, let's say this is an atom. Okay. And we believe this is to be another atom. Hari. Oh, hitannako mena me deka, right? We would say me deka atoms dekak කියලා hitannako. Right. Let's say these are two atoms. හරිද? तर මේ ඇටම් එකේ සෙන්ටර් එකේ තියෙනවා මේකේ නියුක්ලියස් එක, මෙයාගේ සෙන්ටර් එකේ තියෙනවා මෙයාගේ නියුක්ලියස් එක. fair enough නේ? හරි. ඒතර මේ දෙන්නගේ මේ බොන්ඩ් එකක් ෆෝම් කරන්න යන ඇටම්ස් දෙකේ නියුක්ලියයිස් දෙක අතර ඩිස්ටන්ස් එක, ඉන්ටර්නියුක්ලියයි ඩිස්ටන්ස් එකත් එක්ක මේ දෙන්නගේ කන්ටේන් වෙන ටෝටල් එනර්ජි එක අපි ප්ලොට් කරනවා. we are going to plot the graph between total energy contained by these possible atoms and the internuclei distance of these two atoms. Okay. When the internuclei distance is very high, these two atoms, they are going to contain a significant amount of energy. මේගොල්ලන්ගේ some significant energy එකක් තියෙනවා internuclei distance එක ගොඩ high වෙනකොට. When we make them closer and closer, the total energy contained by these two species, these two atoms, is going to be reducing little by little. Distance එක වැඩි වෙනකොට මේගොල්ලන්ගේ totally contain වෙන energy එක මොකද වෙන්නේ? reduce වෙනවා. ඒ කියන්නේ energy එක harm වෙලා යනවා environment එකට. මෙයාලගේ contain වෙන energy එක somehow අඩු වෙනවා. Right. There is a certain point where the total contained energy becomes minimum. If we are going to move these guys closer then after, again මෙහෙම වුණාට පස්සේ තව මම මිරිකලා හරි තද කරලා හරි මොකක් හරි ඔට්ටු වෙලා මුන් දෙන්නව ඕනෙට වඩා ක්ලෝස් කරන්න යද්දී the total energy contained by these guys is going to be increased. External energy එක absorb කරන් හරි total contained වෙන energy එක වැඩි වෙන්න ගන්නවා. ඒ කියන්නේ ඒගොල්ලෝ ආය unstable වෙන්න ගන්නවා කියන එක. energy එක වැඩි කියන්නේ unstable කියලානේ අපි believe කරනවා කිව්වේ. හරි. ඒතර total contained energy එක minimum වෙන point එක අපි කියනවා මේ atoms දෙක අතර in between these two atoms the bond formation point එක. ඒ වෙලාවේ තියෙන internuclei distance එක that is said to be the bond length of this particular bond. මේ bond එකේ bond length එක කියලා අපි point එකේ තියෙන internuclei distance එක rename කරනවා. තේරුණානේ? clear නේ? right. I need your responses. Is everything clear, Buddha? Just tell me. I need responses from everyone. Sure, I'm looking it from everyone. Was everything clear? The introduction part is clear, right? Tamai, come on. Right. Okay. Fine. Super. Sir, could you please re-explain how the paper class is going to work if possible? Thank you. Right. Okay. I'll tell you. Yeah. You forget about the paper class. Right. So this is a new chapter where we are going to commence the second lesson for 3 months period starting from today, July, August, September. 3 to 6 would be the class time. During the month of August, since you guys are having school vacations and all, I'll be doing some extra sessions as well. But for the moment, the regular time slot is 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. slot. Right. So I'll be doing 10 papers from first lesson, 2 spot tests from first lesson, and 1 unit test from first lesson within this period as well. So already for the period of March and June, for the period in between March and June, for last 4 months, I've conducted 2 papers and 1 spot test from the first lesson. Right. Within this month, day pass paper 3 to day pass paper 6 will be shared in your WhatsApp channel, and I'll be discussing those 4 papers, right? Whenever possible, maybe 6:15 to 7 p.m. every Friday, I would say. ෆිසිකලි එන අයට කැමති අයට ඉන්න පුළුවන් 6:15 ඉඳන් 7 විතර වෙනකන් ඒ ඩිස්කෂන් එකට. අනික් අයට ගෙදර යන්න පුළුවන්. The discussion will be uploaded to your WhatsApp channel. It's free of charge. You don't need to have extra commitment on that. තොර පේපර් එක අප්ලෝඩ් වෙන්නේ WhatsApp channel එකට, ඩිස්කෂන් එක අප්ලෝඩ් වෙන්නේ WhatsApp channel එකට. තොර ටෙස්ට් පේපර් 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 ජුලයි ඕගස්ට් කියන months දෙකේ මම කරනවා. ඊළඟට ජුලයි month එකේ second spot test එක තියෙනවා. ඒක තියෙන්නේ atomic structure lesson එකේ first chapters 8 content එකෙන්. From history of atomic structure to electronic configurations. Quantum numbers එනකන් first chapters 8 content එකෙන් මේ මාසේ second half එකේ spot test 2 තියෙනවා. unit test එක මුළු මාර්ච් ඉඳන් ජූන් වෙනකන් කරපු first lesson එකේ මුළු content එකෙන්ම ඕගස්ට් second half එකේ තියෙනවා. ඒතර ඒ නිකන් අර තාම paper class එක යන්නේ නැහනේ. එතකොට මේ study කරන ඒවා අමතක වෙලා යන්න පුළුවන්. ඒතර papers වල කොහොමද apply වෙන්නේ to expose you to new type of questions to keep it loaded in your brain. මේක අර අමතක වෙන්නේ නැතුව load කරලා තියන්න. ওই වැඩවලට first lesson එකේ exercises ටිකක් තමයි යන්නේ. ඒතර after O level results newcomers ලා ඒ papers ටිකයි ඒ spot test ටිකයි ඒවා ටික නොකරට කමන්නේ. මුලින් ඉඳන් continue කරන් ආපුවයි කරන්න. newcomers ලා මේ මාස දෙකේ ජුලයි ඕගස්ට් මාස දෙකේ අර course එක purchase කරලා first lesson එකේ වැඩ ටික ඉවර කරගන්න. tube pack එක courier කරලා ගෙන්නගෙන first lesson එකේ වැඩ ටික ඉවර කරගන්න. මුලින් ඉඳන් ආපු ළමයි ටික you just continue these papers and spot test and everything. okay හැමෝටම mainly කරන්න තියෙන වැඩේ තමයි මේ second lesson එක අද ඉඳන් ඉස්සරහට මේ trimester එක ඇතුලේ at the end of September වෙනකොට ඉවර කරගන්න එක. September paper class එක පටන් ගන්නවා. එතකොට හැමෝම මේකට newcomers ලයි මුලින් ඉඳන් ආපු අය ඔක්කොමලා එකට involve වෙන්න ඕනේ. අර day pass papers 10යි spot test එකයි unit test එකයි ඒ ටික මුලින් ඉඳන් මාර්ච් ඒප්‍රිල් මුල් කාලේ ඉඳන් ආපු අය කරගත්තාම ඇති. That's enough. okay newcomers ලටත් පුළුවන් ඕනනම් ඉක්මනට course එක ඉවර කරලා ඉතික් කරන්න, but I don't push you guys for that. If you can, yes, you give it a try. That's better. But I don't care it. okay right. okay Buddha, we are moving to the one of the major chapters of the lesson, chapter 2. ලියන්න chapter 2 මේක major unit එකක් covalent bonding and covalent compounds. 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 okay right. Buddha, listen to me very carefully. right. You have heard the word covalent bonding, isn't it? covalent bond එකක් කියන්නේ මොකක්ද කියලා දන්නවනේ. මොකක්ද covalent bond එකක් කියලා කියන්නේ? What kind of a bond? Is it a bond between cation and anion? lamai talk please. Is it a bond between two ions? No, that kind of a bond is said to be an ionic bond. නේද? ionic bond එකක් කියලා එහෙම එකට කියන්නේ. එහෙනම් මොන වගේ bond එකක්ද covalent bond එකක් කියන්නේ? atoms දෙකක් electrons මොනව කරගෙනද? එකකින් අනිකට transfer කරගෙනද? දෙන්න අතර share කරගෙනද? A chemical bond formed by sharing one or more electron pairs among two atoms. atoms දෙකක් අතර among two atoms by sharing one or more electron pairs among two atoms. atoms දෙකක් අතර electron pairs එකක් හරි electron pairs දෙකක් හරි තුනක් හරි share කරගෙන ඒ electrons මෙයාටත් loyal මෙයාටත් loyal දෙන්නටම loyal විදිහට share වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. form වෙන chemical bonds වලට තමයි අපි කියන්නේ මොන bonds කියලාද? covalent bonds කියලා. okay so we are going to study how covalent bonds are being formed, how we can categorize, how we can classify these covalent bonds based on different bases, and what is the relative strength of these various types of covalent bonds. We are going to study in depth. අපි ලොකු මේ study එකක් කරනවා covalent bonds ගැන මේ chapter එකේ. Okay, right. Under the what you call the chapter 2 covalent bonding, you may write your first subtopic. Center කරලා ලියන්න පළවෙනි subtopic එක. Subtopic simple A, formation of a covalent bond. Formation of a covalent bond. Formation of a covalent bond. Right. Normal paragraph එක ලියන්න පුතා මෙහෙම. You may write down. Consider an instance where capital A and capital B atoms. Consider an instance where capital A and capital B atoms capital A and capital B atoms are existing closer to each other. Consider an instance where capital A and capital B atoms are existing closer to each other. Capital A atom and capital B atom are existing closer to each other. Capital A atom and capital B atom are existing closer to each other. Closer to each other. පුතා නිකන් මෙන්න මේ විදිහට atoms දෙකක් අඳින්න which are existing closer to each other. එක ළඟ ළඟ තියෙන මේ දෙන්නට දෙන්න closer to each other තියෙන atoms දෙකක මේ වගේ නිකන් පොඩි රූපයක් අඳින්න යටින්. යටින් paragraph එකම normal විදිහට ලියන්න. There are several potential attraction and repulsion forces. 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 Attraction and repulsion forces which can be formed which formed කියන වචනයට වඩා හොඳයි which can be generated Emilian which can be generated among the components of these two atoms. Which can be generated among the components of these two atoms. Which can be generated at the exerted kiwat kamanne among the components of these two atoms. Which can be exerted among the components of these two atoms. The components of these two atoms. මේ atoms දෙකේ components අතර හරි x මේ form වෙන්න පුළුවන් exert වෙන්න පුළුවන් attraction and repulsion forces කීපයක් තියෙනවා. There are several attraction and repulsion forces which can be exerted among the components of these two atoms. මේ දෙන close වුණාම හරි. Listen to me පුතා. මොනවද තියෙන්න පුළුවන් attraction forces? Tell me. Attraction එකක් තියෙන්නේ same charges අතරද opposite charges අතරද? Attraction එක. I need talk පුතා. Then only I can develop the conversation. Same charges අතරද opposite charges අතරද? Attraction එකක් තියෙන්නේ. Can't hear. Opposite charges අතර. Right here we can expect two attractions among these components, among the components of these two atoms. Attractions දෙකක් expect කරන්න බෑ. එකක් තමයි පුතා the attraction between electron cloud of A and the nucleus of B. You know nucleus is composed with protons which is positive in charge. The attraction between electron cloud of B and the nucleus of A. තේරෙනවද මං කියන්නේ? ඒතර ඒ attractions දෙක මේ දෙන්න close වෙනකොට මේ දෙන්න අතර එන්න පුළුවන් attractions දෙකක්. Repulsions එන්නේ similar charges අතර. මොනවද එන්න පුළුවන් repulsions මේ දෙන්න close වෙනකොට? When they close to each other, what are the possible repulsions that can cause? The repulsion between electron cloud of A and electron cloud of B. The repulsion between the nucleus of A and the nucleus of B. Those are similar kind of charged components. So they will potentially develop a repulsive forces. Am I correct? Right. අපි bullet points හතරක් විදිහට එන්න පුළුවන් attractions and මේ repulsions ලියමු. ලියන්න first point එක normal para එකක් ඉස්සලා ලියවේ. දැන් rule එක අතරලා first point එක attraction between චූටියට ලියන්න පුළුවන් තරම් එක line එකකට ගන්න බලන්න. Attraction between electron cloud of A and nucleus of B. එච්චරයි. Electron cloud of A and nucleus of B. Attraction between electron cloud of A and nucleus of B. Nucleus of B. Second point එක ඒකේ other way round. Attraction between electron cloud of B and nucleus of A. Attraction between electron cloud of B and nucleus of A. Attraction between electron cloud of B and nucleus of A. Third point එක repulsion between electron clouds of A and B. Repulsion between electron clouds of A and B. Repulsion between electron clouds of A and B. Fourth point එක repulsion between nuclei of A and B. Repulsion between nuclei of A and B. Repulsion between nuclei of A and B. Right. Puta, listen to me. Right. What happens when, listen to me very carefully. What happens when the summation, the total effect of attractions is stronger than the total effect of repulsions? Again, potentially එන්න පුළුවන් attractions, repulsions වල attractions වල impact එක repulsions වල impact එකට වඩා වැඩි වුණොත් මොනවා වෙයි කියලා හිතන්න පුළුවන්. Electron clouds of these two atoms move towards each other. එහෙම නේද? repulsions වලට attractions වල effect එක වැඩි වුණොත් වෙන්නේ attract වෙන එකනේ. එතකොට when නැත්නම් if the impact of attractions, right, if the impact of attractions is becoming more stronger than the impact of the repulsion, the electron clouds of these two atoms may move towards each other. මේ දෙන්නගේ electron clouds ටික එක එකනා පැත්තට move වෙනවා. The electron clouds of these two atoms will move towards each other. මේක මෙහෙම අඳින්නවට වඩා මම මෙහෙම අඳින්නම්. This will be more clear for you, right? මෙහෙම මේ attractions වල impact එක repulsions වල impact එකට වඩා වැඩි වුණොත් මේ දෙන්නගේ electron clouds will move towards each other. මෙන්න මේ විදිහට deform වෙයි. එක එකනා පැත්තට deform වෙනවා මෙන්න මේ විදිහට. right? එක එකනා පැත්තට deform වෙනවා. attractions වල impact එක වැඩි වුණොත් හරි will move towards, deform towards each other. හරිද? when this happens continuously, හරි මේක දිගට වුණොත් continuously මේ process එක වුණොත් ඒක ටික වෙලාවක් තිස්සේ මේ process එක වුණොත්, right? here if it happens significantly and for the period of time, electron clouds of these two atoms will go on top of each other. එක උඩ එක යනවා. electron clouds overlap වෙනවා කියලා එකට කියන්නේ. එතකොට මෙන්න මේකට අපි කියනවා overlapping කියලා. මොකක් කියලාද මේකට කියන්නේ? This is said to be overlapping of electron clouds. Overlapping. This is said to be overlapping of electron clouds. Okay. Right. This overlap region contains electrons which belong to A and electrons which belong to B also. Again, මේ overlap region එකේ A ගේ B ගේ දෙන්නගේම electrons තියෙනවා. එතකොට මේ overlap region එකට Aත් attract වෙන්න බලනවා. මෙයත් එක්ක Aත් relationship එකක් තියාගන්නවා. B also try to keep a relationship between this overlap region. මේ Bත් මේ overlap region එකත් එක්ක relationship එකක් තියාගන්නවා. අන්තිමට මේ common area එකට දෙන්නම relate වෙන හින්දා all in all at last a attraction, a bond between formed among A and B atoms. මේ A B atoms දෙක අතරත් අන්තිමට bond එකක් form වෙනවා. මේ වගේ common area එකක overlap වුණු area එකක share වෙන electrons හින්දා form වෙන bond එකක් is defined to be a covalent bond in chemistry. මේ type එකේ bond එකකට අපි කියනවා මොන bond එකක් කියලාද පුතා? covalent bond එකක් කියලා කියනවා. Understood? Right. I'll go again. හරි මම මුලින් ඉඳන් යන්නම් again. Here මම සිංහලෙනුත් කියන්නම් ඉංග්‍රීසි වලනුත් කියන්නම්. හරි? දෙපැත්තෙන්ම කියන්නම්. Here let's say A and B atoms are getting closer to each other. හරි එතකොට A B atoms දෙක close වුණොත් each other close වුණොත් there are several potential attraction and repulsion forces could be formed. The possible attractions are attraction between electron cloud of A and the nucleus of B, attraction between electron cloud of B and the nucleus of A. Possible repulsions are the repulsion between nucleus of A and nucleus of B, the repulsion between electron cloud of A and electron cloud of B. When the impact of attractions surpasses the impact of repulsions, electron clouds of these two atoms would deform towards each other. ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ shape එක වෙනස් වෙනවා towards each other. If it happened continuously for a period of time, ඒක continuously වුණොත් for a period of time, the electron clouds of these two atoms go on top of each other. That is said to be an overlapping of electron clouds. In simple terms, that is said to be an overlapping. This overlapped region may contain electrons of both these atoms. Because of that, some electrons are shared in this overlapped region. Because of that electron containment in overlapped region, a bond would be formed among these two atoms. That kind of a bond, the characteristic nature is electrons are shared in overlap region. Overlap region එක electrons share වෙන එක තමයි main characteristic එක. The bond is formed due to this electron availability in overlap region is said to be a covalent bond among these two atoms. That is how covalent bonds are being formed. එනවා covalent bonds හැදෙනවා කියලා අපි believe කරනවා. තේරුණාද? Atoms දෙකක් close වෙද්දී ඒ atoms දෙක අතර potentially හැදෙන්න පුළුවන් attractions and repulsions කීපයක් තියෙනවා. Attractions වල impact එක repulsions වල impact එකට වඩා වැඩි වුණොත් ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ electron clouds they deform towards each other. They overlap, they go on top of each other, they go over on top of each other, they overlapped. මේ overlap region එකේ atoms දෙකේම electrons share වෙලා තියෙන හින්දා මේ atoms දෙක අතර at the end of the day form වෙන type එකේ bond එකක් is said to be a covalent bond in chemistry. Clear, right? Okay. So where did we end up? අපි කොතනින්ද අන්තිමට නතර කරේ? Potentially එන්න පුළුවන් ඒවා හතර ලීවා. එච්චරයිද අපි ලීවේ? හවුද? Right. එනම් paragraph එකකට එන්න, normal paragraph එකකට එන්න. However, come on. If the strength of attractions becomes significant when compared with the strength of repulsions becomes significant when compared with the strength of repulsions come on. Electron clouds of atoms may deform towards each other. Electron clouds of atoms may deform towards each other. Electron clouds of atoms may deform towards each other. And fall on top of each other as well. May deform towards each other and fall on top of each other as well. This kind of phenomenon, you may continue that paragraph. Right? This kind of phenomenon is known to be you may use a red pen overlapping of orbitals. Overlapping. This kind of phenomenon is known to be overlapping in chemistry. Full stop. Phenomenon is known to be overlapping in chemistry. හරි. අපි මේ ඔය බෝඩ් එකේ ඇඳලා තියෙන ඩයග්‍රෑම් එක අඳිමුද පුතා? අපි දැන් ඔය නිකන් එක්ස්ප්ලেইন කරපු පැරග්‍රාෆ් එක නිකන් ස්කෙච් ඩයග්‍රෑම් එකකින් බෝඩ් එකේ තියෙනවා ඒක ඇඳලා දාන්න. Deform towards each other and overlapped. Deform towards each other and overlap. This kind of phenomenon is known to be an overlapping in chemistry. අපි chemistry වලදී මේ වගේ එකකට කියනවා overlapping එකක් කියලා. Is defined to be an overlapping in chemistry. Right. You may continue your writing. Hari, diagram එකේ අඩුපාඩු තිබ්බොත් පස්සේ අන්දිමු. We'll continue then after. Puda, you have to keep several pens and pencils and stuff like that during this lesson. මේකේ diagrams කොටා අපිට අඳින්න තියෙනවා මේ lesson එකේ. Structures and diagrams කොටා තියෙනවා. හරි. ලියන්න පැරා එකක් විදියට යටින්. Since the electrons of both atoms are contained, since the electrons of both atoms are contained, since the electrons of both atoms of dekema, since the electrons of both atoms are contained in the overlap region, are contained in the overlap region, are contained in the overlap region, a chemical bond would be formed. A chemical bond would be formed. A chemical bond would be formed. A chemical bond would be formed by attracting both the atoms. A chemical bond would be formed by attracting both the atoms. A chemical bond would be formed by attracting both the atoms, by attracting both the atoms to this particular overlap region, to this particular overlap region. Chemical bond would be formed by attracting both the atoms to this particular overlap region, to this particular overlap region. එකටම කන්ටිනියු කරන්න. This type of bond is defined to be, 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 මේ වගේ bond එකකට අපි කියනවා is defined to as, is defined to be, red pen එකෙන් ලියන්න, covalent bond in chemistry. Covalent bond in chemistry. Covalent bond in chemistry. This type of bond is defined to be a covalent bond in chemistry. අපි chemistry වලදී covalent bond එකක් කියලා කියනවා. Is defined to be a covalent bond in chemistry. A covalent bond in chemistry. Right. පුතා රූලක් දෙකක් අතරලා ඩබල් කම ඇතුලේ apostrophes ඇතුලේ නිකන් key characteristic එක අපි ලියමු. හරි? රූලක් දෙකක් අතරින්න you may leave a rule or two and within apostrophes you may write sharing of one or more electron pairs. 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 Within commonly available overlapped region. Within commonly available overlapped region. Within commonly available overlapped region. Within commonly available within commonly available overlap region is the key characteristic of a covalent bond. Is the key characteristic of a covalent bond. Sharing of one or more electron pairs within commonly available overlap region is the key characteristic of a covalent bond. Is the key characteristic of a covalent bond. Is the key characteristic of a covalent bond. හරි ඩබල් කම වහන්න පුතා. එතකොට ඉලෙක්ට්‍රෝන ෂෙයාරින් කියන එක තමයි ඕවර්ලැප් රීජන් එකේ ඉලෙක්ට්‍රෝන පෙයාර්ස් එකක් හරි කීපයක් හරි ෂෙයා කරගන්න එක තමයි covalent bond එකක key characteristic එක වෙන්නේ. right රූලක් දෙකක් අතරලා normal paragraph එකක ලියන්න. Covalent bonds can be categorized into subcategories. Covalent bonds can be categorized into subcategories. Covalent bonds can be categorized into subcategories. Can be categorized into subcategories. Can be categorized into subcategories. Can be categorized into subcategories based on several key parameters. Based on several key parameters. Can be categorized into subcategories based on several key parameters. Based on several key parameters. Can be categorized into subcategories based on several key parameters. Right. Subtopic simple B මම ටියුට් එකටම පැරලල් යන්න බලන්න. එතකොට ටියුට් එක හම්බුනම ෆිල් කරන්න ලේසිනේ. Subtopic simple B ලියන්න. Classification of covalent bonds based on bond order. Classification of covalent bonds based on bond order. Right. Listen to me, Lamai. Here, classification of covalent bonds based on what? Based on bond order. Bond order එක base කරගෙන කොහොමද covalent bonds කියන ඒවා classify කරන්නේ? හරි. පුතා, here first we have to define what is the bond order of a given covalent bond. අපිට දෙන covalent bond එකක bond order එක කියන්නේ මොකක්ද? හරි. Here number of electron pairs shared in overlap region among these two constituent atoms, component atoms, membering atoms are said to be the bond order of that particular covalent bond. Aparak man kiyano. Here, listen to me very carefully. Lamai, keep your attention please. Number of electron pairs shared. Share වෙන electron pairs ගාන. මෙයාගෙන් electron එකයි මෙයාගෙන් electron එකයි contribute කරාම electron pair එකක් නේ එතන form වෙන්නේ. ඒතර මෙයාගෙන් electrons දෙකයි මෙයාගෙන් electrons දෙකයි ආවොත් එහෙම electron pairs කීයක් share වෙනවද? electron pairs දෙකක් share වෙනවා. තේරුණානේ මං කියන එක? Number of electron pairs shared within the overlap region. Overlap region එකේ share වෙන electron pairs ගාන among these two atoms are said to be, are defined to be bond order of that particular covalent bond. මොකක් හරි covalent bond එකක් form වෙද්දී overlap region එකේ මේ atoms දෙක අතර share වෙන electron pairs ගන්න number of electron pairs shared in overlap region is defined to be the bond order of that particular covalent bond. Understood what I say? These covalent bonds can be classified by means of the bond order. The classification of covalent bonds based on bond order. That's what we are going to discuss. Okay. Clear? Right. Before moving on to this, මේකට move වෙන්න කලින් මට එක part එකක් miss වුණා මම ඒකත් ලියවලම ඉන්නම්. පුතා subtopic B කියන එකට යන්න කලින් subtopic B අපි ලියවද? ලියවද? Yes the no ද? Right. කපන්නේ නම් ඒක. හරි? You have to cut it off. Before that, I have to tell you something. Okay? ඕක කමන්නේ ඕක මේකෙන් අපේ rough paper එකනේ අපි tute එකේනේ final note එක ගන්නේ. So just forget about that. කපලා දාන්න. මේ before that, I'll tell you one thing. පුතා listen to me. Here, what we believe is, we believe here this is something important, huh? Right. Here we believe overlapping is possible among two unpaired electrons. Again, මේ පළවෙනි atom එකේ electron cloud එකේ outermost තියෙන එළියේ තියෙන unpaired electrons තියෙන pair වුන් නැති unpaired electrons තියෙන orbitals උයි අනික් atom එකෙත් unpaired electrons තියෙන orbitals උයි among these unpaired electron containing orbitals හරි මේ unpaired electrons තියෙන orbitals වල overlapping වෙන්න පුළුවන්ලු හරි එක atom එකක electrons pair වුණු orbital එකයි අනික් atom එකේ මේ vacant orbital එකකුයි මෙන්න මේ දෙන්න අතරත් overlapping වෙන්න පුළුවන්ලු. ඔයාලට තේරෙනවද පුතා මං කියන එක? ඒ කියන්නේ දැන් හිතන්නකෝ මේ atoms දෙක right let's say these two atoms are coming closer to each other. මේ දෙන්න coming closer to each other කියලා හිතන්නකෝ. මෙයාගේ outermost sub energy level එකේ තියෙන්නේ unpaired electrons in orbitals. මෙයාගේ outermost sub energy level එකෙත් unpaired electrons in orbitals තියෙනවා. Newcomers පුතා we learned something called orbitals that you will realize when you are going through the first lesson course. Forget about the word for the moment. Just listen to me. That's all. Others you know this stuff, right? මෙයාගේ outermost sub energy level එකේ තියෙන්නේ unpaired electrons in orbitals. මෙයාගේ outermost sub energy level එකේ unpaired electrons in orbitals එකක් හරි තියෙනවා. එහෙම වුණොත් මේ දෙන්න අතර overlapping එකක් වෙන්න පුළුවන්. මෙයාගේ outermost sub energy level එකේ electrons pair වුණු orbitals තියෙනවා. මෙයාගේ outermost sub energy level එකේ electron configuration එකත් එක්ක බලද්දි 2p හරි 3s හරි මොකේ හරි මේ empty orbitals තියෙනවා. එහෙම වුණොත් ඒත් මේ දෙන්න අතර overlapping එකක් attraction එක repulsion එකට වඩා වැඩි වෙලා overlapping එකක් වෙන්න පුළුවන්. හරි? In all the other cases overlapping is not expected. ඒ කියන්නේ පුතා මෙයාගේ outermost එකේ තියෙන්නේ electron pair වුණු orbitals. මෙයාගේ outermost sub energy level එකේ unpaired electrons තියෙන orbitals තියෙනවා නම් in between these two හරි මේ දෙන්නගේ overlapping එකක් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. We cannot expect an overlapping among these two. මෙයාගේ outermost එකේ electron pair වුණු orbitals ඉන්නේ unpaired ඒවාවත් vacant ඒවාවත් නැහැ. මෙයාගේ outermost sub energy level එකෙත් electrons pair වුණු orbitals නම් තියෙන්නේ. ඒ වගේ situation එකකත් අපිට overlapping එකක් expect කරන්න බෑ. හරි? අපි මේක ලියලම B කියන subtopic එකට යමු. Okay? right. ලියන්න අපි අන්තිමට මොකද්ද ලියුවේ මේ covalent bonding එකේ definition එක වගේ එකක් නේ අන්තිමට ලියුවේ නේද? characteristic හරි නෑ. මේ categorize කරන්න පුළුවන් මෙහෙම කියලා නේ. හරි. ඒතකොට එහෙනම් අපි external note එකක් විදිහට මේක ලියමු. right. here පුතා මේ අර ඔය paragraph ටික ඒ ටික ඉවරයි. right. ප්‍රශ්න නැහැ. මෙන්න මෙහෙම දාන්න note කියලා දාලා note requisite for electron cloud overlapping. Requisite for electron cloud overlapping. External note එකක් විදිහට අපි ඒක ලියමු. Requisite අවශ්‍යතාවය. නැත්නම් necessity කියන්නත් පුළුවන්. Requisite or necessity for electron cloud overlapping. Requisite for electron cloud overlapping. Requisite for electron cloud overlapping. Necessity නැත්නම් requisite for electron cloud overlapping. හරි. paragraph එක ලියන්න. normal paragraph එක ලියන්න. මේ note එක කියන එක කොටු කරලා සාමාන්‍ය note එකෙන් අපි අන්තිමට වෙන් කරමු. හරිද? This has to be a segregated note. But anyway you continue your writing. para එකක ලියන්න. Right. Electron cloud overlapping can be expected electron cloud overlapping can be expected electron cloud overlapping can be expected when outermost sub-energy levels of membering atoms, outermost sub-energy levels of membering atoms, the potential atoms, Emily, when outermost sub-energy levels of potential atoms, outermost sub-energy levels of potential atoms are containing outermost sub-energy levels of potential atoms are containing unpaired electrons or one of these atoms are having paired electrons. One of these atoms are having paired electrons. One of these atoms are having paired electrons. one of these atoms are having paired electrons, while other atom is having other atom is having an empty orbital in its outermost subenergy level. 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 So මෙන්න මේ සිටුේෂන් දෙකේදී අපිට orbital overlapping, electron cloud overlapping and bond formation can be expected. Okay, right. මෙන්න මේ dotted line එකට උඩින් තියෙන short notes දෙක දාන්න පුතා. constituent atoms දෙකේම outermost subenergy level එකේ unpaired electrons තියෙන orbitals තියෙනවා නම් overlapping එකක් possible. එකක paired electrons තියෙන orbitals තියෙනවා, අනික එකේ empty orbitals තියෙනවා නම් ඒත් overlapping එකක් possible. මේ dotted line එකට උඩින් තියෙන summary එක දාන්න. dotted line එකට උඩින් තියෙන summary එක දාන්න. You may continue a note එකේම මේ ඉස්සරහට ලියාගෙන යන්න. However, come on. Electron cloud overlapping. However, electron cloud overlapping is not expected. However, electron cloud overlapping is not expected in other situations. Electron cloud overlapping is not expected in other situations. Is not expected in other situations. Is not expected in other situations. හරි. මේ dotted line එකට යටින් තියෙන දෙක දාන්න. හරි. ඊට පස්සේවා මේ note requisite for electron cloud overlapping කියන එක ඒ full note එක. අපි දැන් මේ ලියපු external note එක වෙනම කොටු කරලා තියාගන්න පුතා, වෙනම highlight වෙන note එකක් විදියට. මේ දෙක යටින් දාගෙන මේ full note එක වෙනම box කරලා තියාගන්න. So this is going to be a good kind of a short note, this good kind of a extra note. Requisite for electron cloud overlapping. Right. Now you may write down subtopic simple B. Covalent bond classification based on bond order. හරි. දැන් subtopic B එක ලියන්න අපි ඒකේ අද දවසේ වැඩ කරලා ඉවර කරමු. Subtopic simple B, covalent bond classification based on bond order. අපි අර ඉස්සල්ලා ලියලා කපපු subtopic එක පුතා. Covalent bond classification based on bond order. Covalent bond classification based on bond order. Bond order එක base කරගෙන covalent bonds කොහොමද classify කරන්නේ? Covalent bond classification based on bond order. හරි. අපි ඒකෙදි bond order එක කියන්නේ මොකක්ද කියලා කතා වුණානේ. So what is believed to be the bond order? මොකක්ද bond order එක කියලා කියන්නේ පුතා? Number of electron pairs shared in overlapped region in between two membering atoms. නේද? හරි. ලියන්න double comma ඇතුලේ apostrophes ඇතුලේ number of electron pairs shared number of electron pairs shared number of electron pairs shared share වෙන electron pairs ගන්න number of electron pairs shared within the overlapped region number of electron pairs shared within the overlapped region is defined to as order of a given covalent bond. Is defined to as order of a given covalent bond. Is defined to as order of a given covalent bond. Number of electron pairs shared within the overlapped region is defined to as order of a given covalent bond. Double comma 1. ඒ තමයි definition එක. So that is said to be bond order. Right. රූලක් දෙකක් අතරලා මේ B කියන subtopic එකේ further subtopic එක Roman number 1 single covalent bonds. Single covalent bonds. Right. Puta, tell me. If one electron pair is shared among two membering atoms within the overlapped region, හරි overlap region එකේ electron pairs එකක් දෙන්නට commonly share වෙලා තියෙනවා නම් ඒ type එකේ covalent bond එකකට අපි කියනවා a first order covalent bond. order එක එකක් වෙන covalent bond එකක්. a first order covalent bond or else which kind of a covalent bond? Single covalent bond. Okay. How do we denote? අපි කොහොමද පෙන්වන්නේ single bond එකක්? single covalent bond එකක් කොහොමද denote කරන්නේ? It will be denoted by a short line drawn between two constituent atoms. සමාජික atoms දෙක අතර constituent atoms දෙක අතර අඳින solid short line එකකින් එක single short line එකකින් single covalent bond එකක් නැත්නම් order එක එකක් වෙන first order covalent bond එකක් අපි denote කරනවා. Okay. Right. අපි ලියවන්නේ single covalent bonds කියලා. double comma ඇතුලේ ඒකේ definition එක ලියමු අපි මෙහෙම. හරි. ලියන්න. Covalent bond which is formed by sharing one electron pair by sharing one electron pair by sharing one electron pair within overlapped region by sharing one electron pair within overlapped region between two constituent atoms within overlap region between two constituent atoms within overlap region between two constituent atoms within overlap region between two constituent atoms are said to be first order covalent bonds slash double single bonds in chemistry are said to be first order covalent bonds slash single bonds. Again, those are synonyms. First order covalent bonds slash single bonds in chemistry. First order covalent bonds and single bonds in chemistry. First order covalent bonds slash single bonds in chemistry. Double comma one. So that's a definition. Right. And in the nil parting and that is the way we denote it. Ekapi represent karna vidya structure ekakandiddi. Maddeng andinna nikan chutiyata rule dekak විතර උසට A dash B එක single solid line එකකින්. Right. Normal paragraph එක ලියන්න යටින් single bonds are represented by one solid line drawn DRAWN, one solid line drawn in between constituent atoms. One solid line drawn in between constituent atoms. One solid line drawn in between constituent atoms. Hari. Anik note deka liyamuda tani. Roman number 2, double covalent bonds. Right. Api simple B කියන subtopic එකේ ඉන්නේ ඒකේ තියෙන further subtopics මේ යන්නේ Roman number 2 double covalent bonds. Okay, Puda, tell me, how do you define it? Double covalent bond is a type of a covalent bond where how many electron pairs will be shared? 2 electron pairs being shared among two constituent atoms within the overlap region. Is it? How do we represent it? By drawing how many solid lines? 2 solid lines among constituent atoms. Okay. Right. Double comma definition එක. Covalent bonds formed by sharing 2 electron pairs by sharing two electron pairs. By sharing two electron pairs among constituent atoms. By sharing two electron pairs among constituent atoms. Within the overlap region. Within the overlap region. Within the overlap region are said to be second order covalent bonds / double bonds. That's a simple word. Shorter word is double bonds. The proper word is second order covalent bonds. Are said to be second order covalent bonds / double bonds in chemistry. Second order covalent bonds in chemistry. In chemistry. Double comma වහන්න. අඳින්න A double dash B. يعني solid lines දෙකක් අඳින්න. ලියන්න double bonds are represented by drawing 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 two solid lines in between two membering atoms. Two solid lines in between membering atoms. By drawing two solid lines in between membering atoms. By drawing two solid lines in between membering atoms. හරි. මං ඊළඟ එක ලියන්න ඕනේ නැහැ නේද? You can do it by yourself නේද? හරි. Roman number 3. Triple covalent bonds. In simple terms, triple bonds. Third order covalent bonds. Hari, ලියන්න. You have to write the definition. You have to write the way of representation. And you have to have the final sentence as well. Okay. Finish it off, Putha. Puda, here you have to keep this thing in your mind. Harida, right, listen to me. When the bond order increases, bond එකේ order එක වැඩි වෙන්න වැඩි වෙන්න. ඒ කියන්නේ අර overlap region එකේ share වෙලා තියෙන electron pairs ගන්න වැඩි වෙන්න when the bond order increases with the increment of bond order, right, bond energy is believed to be increasing while the bond length of the bond is believed to be decreasing. මොකද්ද වැඩි වෙන්නේ මොකද්ද අඩු වෙන්නේ? With the increment of bond order, which is going to be increased, bond energy. මොකද්ද bond energy එක කියන්නේ? පුතා, bond energy means the energy which should be supplied externally to dissociate the bond and separate these membering atoms, constituent atoms ටික bond එක කඩලා separate කරන්න externally දෙන්න ඕනේ energy එකට තමයි අපි කියන්නේ bond energy එක කියලා. right? ඒතර kilojoules per mole unit එකෙන් තමයි ඒක මයින්නේ. bonds mole එකක bonds ටික කඩලා atoms ටික separate කරන්න kilojoule වලින් supply කරන්න ඕනේ energy එකක් විදිහට තමයි ඒක measure කරන්නේ. හරි? එතකොට bond order එක වැඩි වෙන්න bond energy එක වැඩි වෙනවා. ඒ කියන්නේ bond එකේ strength එක වැඩි වෙනවා. bond strength එක වැඩි වෙනවා. ඒ කියන්නේ bond energy එක වැඩි වෙනවා. හැබැයි bond order එක වැඩි වෙන්න මේ atoms they are getting closer to each other. ඒ කියන්නේ bond length එක මේ distance එක මොන වෙලා යනවද? අඩු වෙලා යනවා. The bond length decreases. Okay? right. තරු දෙක තුනක් දාලා රතු පෑනෙන් ලියන්න යටින් මේ නවත්තපු තැනට යටින් මේ special point එකක් විදිහට තරු දෙක තුනක් දාලා you may use a red pen and write as a special point. ලියන්න. The bond energy within brackets energy which should be supplied externally, will define it, will explain it. Energy which should be supplied externally to dissociate the bond and separate constituent atoms. 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 The energy which should be supplied externally to dissociate the bond and separate constituent atoms. You may close your brackets. Brackets වහන්න. මොකද මං කිව්වේ පුතා? With the ගොළුවනේ ඉන්නේ භාගයක් උත්තරයක් දෙන්නේ නැහැ නේ එකෙක්වත්. හරි? Bond energy which should be supplied externally to dissociate the bond and separate the constituent atoms. Hari, bond energy is believed to be increasing. Is believed to be increased. Emiliano, is believed to be increased. Bond energy is believed to be increased within brackets, I brackets අතුලට ගමු. Is believed to be increased within brackets with the increment of the strength of bond. In bond energy එක වැඩි වෙනවා කියන්නේ bond එකේ strength එක වැඩි වෙනවා කියන එක. With the increment of strength of the bond. නැත්නම් bond strength කියවත් කමන්නේ. With the increment of bond strength. That's enough. With the increment of bond strength. You may close your brackets. With the increment of bond strength, close the bracket. එතකොට මම මුලින්ම આવොත් brackets ටික skip කරලා bond energy is believed to be increased When bond order increases, brackets वाला ये, when bond order increases, when bond order increases, while 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 bond length is believed to be decreasing, is believed to be decreased, bond length is believed to be decreased, bond length is believed to be decreased with the increment of bond order, with the increment of bond order. හරි මෙන්න මේ short note එක දාගන්න පුතා. එතකොට from single bonds to triple bonds with the increment of bond order, bond energy and bond strength increases while bond length decreases. ඒක තමයි සමරියක් විදිහට ඔය order එක අනුව classify වෙද්දී ඔළුවේ තියෙන්න ඕනේ. Bond energy and bond strength increases while bond length, bond energy and bond strength increases while bond length decreases. Right. I'll give you two examples. I need you guys to come up with the answers, okay? Example 1. Example 1. Lian brother. Example 1. Compare bond energies of covalent bonds. Compare bond energies of covalent bonds. Compare bond energies of covalent bonds labeled as simple A, comma B and C, labeled as simple A, comma B and C, labeled as simple A, comma B and C in following chemical structure. Labeled as simple A, comma B and C in following chemical structure. In following chemical structure. Labeled as simple A, comma B and C in following chemical structure. හරි මේ දීලා තියෙන chemical structure එකේ A B C කියලා label කරලා තියෙන covalent bonds වල මොකද මම දුන්නේ bond energy එක නේද? bond energy එක vary වෙන හැටි ලියන්න කියලා අපිට කියනවා. හරි මේ structure එක අඳින්නකෝ. අඳලා A B C කියන bonds ටික label කරන්න. Hari. Puda, I need your argument. What is your logic? This is a triple bond. This is a single bond. This is a double bond, right? When order increases, bond strength increases. Ne? Bond, bond energy. Bond energy increases with the order. Ne? Enang, which is going to be having the highest bond energy? Simple A. Is it? Which is having the least bond energy? Simple B, which is going to be having the intermediate, the moderate bond energy, the double bond, which is C, right? So B, C, A. Under this order, bond energy increases. Bond energy increases. Right. Towards this direction, bond energy increases. Raise your hands if you got it correct. Good. Towards this direction, bond energy increases. When the order increases, bond energy increases. Bond strength also increases with the order. However, the bond length decreases with the order. That's it, right? Right. Example 2. මේකේ වැරදි ටික ඉවර කරන්න inequality එක ලියවා paragraph මේ arrow එක ලියවා ඒක label කරලා right. Example 2 3 දෙක මෙතන තියෙනවා. ඒ දෙක තනියෙන් කරන්න ඕනේ. Example 2 compare bond strengths. Strength එක කොච්චර strong ද කියන එක. ඒකත් ඕඩ එකත් එක්ක තමයි වැඩි වෙන්නේ. Compare bond strengths of covalent bonds. Compare bond strengths of covalent bonds labeled as X, Y, Z. Labeled as X, Y, Z. Labeled as X, Y, Z. labeled as XYZ. Hari, okay, Buddha. Come up with your answer, will you? Right. I need you guys to come up with answer. Done. මොකද්ද මං කිව්වේ bond length එක compare කරන්න කියලාද කිව්වේ? Strength එක. Okay. Bond strength increases with the order, ne? So which is going to be the strongest bond then? Z. Y. X is considered to be the lowest strength bond, ne? Isn't it? Right. Towards this direction, bond strength increases. Isn't it? Right. Last one. This one. Right. Example 3. Liana. Compare bond lengths of bond lengths of alpha, beta and gamma covalent bonds. Alpha, beta and gamma covalent bonds. Compare bond lengths of alpha, beta and gamma covalent bonds available in given chemical structure. 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 Right. Okay, Buddha. Do will you? Alpha, beta, gamma කියන වගේ bond length එක කොහොමද vary වෙන්නේ කියලා inequality එකකින් දාන්න කියලා කියනවා. Right, Buddha. What we know is the bond length decreases when the order increases. නේ order එක වැඩි වෙනකොට length එක decrease වෙනවා. ඒතර ඒකනේ අපේ logic එක. ඒතර අපිට කියන්න පුළුවන් order එක වැඩිම හින්දා මේ අඩුම length එකක් තියෙන්නේ gamma කියන covalent bond එකේ කියලා. beta කියන covalent bond එකේ length එක maximum ඇති. alpha කියන එකේ intermediate length එකක් ඇති. Bond length increases. Is it? Yes, right? Okay. Right, Pudha. Few minutes will be given. මම විනාඩි දෙක තුනක් දෙන්නම්. Covalent bonding කියන second chapter එකේ simple A, simple B කියන subtopics දෙක full note එකක සරක් කියවන්න. ඔය rough papers වලම මම ඊළඟ සතියේත් වැඩ කරනවා. මම chapter 2 වල වැඩ next week එකේ ඉවර වෙනවා. From 17th Friday onwards, I'll be using the tute එකේ ඒතර හැමෝම 17th එද්දි තමන්ගේ tute එක ගෙන්නගෙන තියෙන්න ඕනේ. Physical students, you will be given the tute by next week. Okay. ඒතර 17th ඉඳන් අපි tute එක base කරන් තමයි chapter 3 ඉඳන් ඉස්සරහට කරන්නේ. Chapter 2 අදයි next week එකේ අපි සාමාන්‍ය විදියට මේ normal papers වල කරන්නේ ඒ note එක ඔයා tute එකට transfer කරගන්න, that's up to you. Okay, so usually when new lessons start, first 2 weeks we write notes as a normal note because tutes online එකට යන්න දවස් 10ක් විතර යනවනේ. ඒ කියන්නේ first week එක පුරාවට මේගොල්ලෝ payments කරනවනේ පුතා. ඒතර second week එක ඉවරනකන් tutes ටික courier වෙනවා. හරි. read whatever the things been taught on the subtopic A and B, will you? Covalent bonding ගැන අපි ගොඩක් දේවල් කතා කරා. 4 subtopics to be discussed, but first subtopics have been done. Read the full note, will you? Then I'll summarize whatever the things been taught. I'll be giving you all the possible notices needed, and I'll finish off. I'll wind up the session then after. Right. So in the necessity for electron cloud overlapping, always the outermost shell doesn't contain only 2 electrons, but it contains more than 2 electrons. So you don't need to worry about that, right? You just keep the concept noted. That's good enough. So you don't need to analyze case by case using these fundamentals. That will see how we practice it when we are doing questions. Okay, the practical application is more simplified than the theory. Right, Lamai, listen to me. That's it, right? I'm getting you the final 5 minutes, right? Here. Now, today we started structure and bonding. As we announced, as we discussed, the structure and bonding lesson was commenced. Right. There, the introduction was done under the main chapter, one of the main chapters of the lesson, the covalent bonding part. First 2 subtopics were covered. Okay, right. Now we know what is a chemical bond, right? What is a chemical bond? Chemical bond is kind of an attraction between 2 constituent atoms in order to make them stable and make them transfer into a less energy situation, right? Unstable high energy containing species will form chemical bonds in order to convert themselves into stable, low energy containing species. So, high energy species transfer into a low energy species. That's the necessity of bond formation. That's why bonds are being formed. Okay, right. The internuclei distance, when the energy is at its minimal point, is said to be the bond length. The energy minimizing point is defined to as the bond formation point. Out of all these subatomic particles called electrons, protons and neutrons, it's electrons which engage in bond formation process. The mechanism of electrochemical cells, the process of electrolysis, the ability to forecast the bond formation tendency based on electronic configuration can be taken as proofs, as evidence, where to elaborate, to expand the fact that electrons are involved in bond formation process. Bonds hadana process එකේ electrons involved වෙනවා කියන්නේ ඒවා witness වෙනවා. ඒවා proofs වෙනවා. Right? Right. Bonds are mainly two types of. One is said to be primary bonds, other type is said to be secondary bonds. Primary bonds are more stronger in nature. They bind constituent species to develop a basic building block called a molecule. Covalent bonds, ionic bonds and metallic bonds are said to be primary bonds. The attraction, the type of bonds available within these basic building blocks, I would say within molecules, can said to be secondary bonds. There are 5 types of main secondary bonds: induced dipole interactions, dipole-induced dipole interactions, iron-dipole interactions, dipole-dipole interactions, and iron-dipole interactions. Okay, you have to memorize these things, okay? Right. Then we moved to the main part called covalent bonding. Okay. When two atoms are getting closer to each other, there are certain possible attractions and repulsions which could be taken place. However, the strength of attractions becomes more dominant on top of the strength of repulsions. The electron clouds of these membering adjoining atoms deform towards each other and going on top of each other. That is called an overlapping. This overlap region contains electrons of both the atoms. Electrons of both the atoms will be shared within this overlap region. Hence, both these atoms have some kind of relationship with each other. So, මේ atoms දෙක අතරත් some kind of relationship එකක් build up වෙනවා. That kind of electron shared relationship is known to as a covalent bond. Right? These covalent bonds can be classified based on bond order, where bond order is defined to as number of electron pairs shared within this overlap region among two membering atoms. If one electron pair is shared, that is said to be a single order covalent bond or a single bond. If two electron pairs are being shared within this overlap region, that is said to be a second order covalent bond, or in simple terms, a double bond. If 3 electron pairs are being shared within this overlap region among constituent atoms, that situation is said to be a third order covalent bond, where in simple terms it can be said as a triple bond. Higher the bond order, higher the bond strength and bond energy. Bond energy means external energy which should be supplied to dissociate the bond and separate the constituent atoms. Higher the bond order, lesser the bond length is. එමනේ bond order එක වැඩි වෙනකොට bond length එක මොකද වෙන්නේ? less වෙනවා. We did 3 examples to understand how bond strength, bond energy and bond length varies with bond order. Okay. Hari, ඔය ටිකනේ අපි study කරේ. Right. If I summarize whatever the things been taught throughout this 3-hour session, that is it. That is the extract which I taught. Right. So we have to complete subtopic C, D and E. 3 subtopics to be done under the covalent bonding part. And exercise should be done also. අපි exercise එකකුත් කරන්න ඕනේ covalent bonding part එකේ. ඔය වැඩ ටික මම next week එකේ Friday 3 to 6 slot එකේ කරනවා. හරි? Listen to me carefully. Wait, I'm not done yet. Right? So next week එකෙත් ඔය note එකම අරන් ඉන්න ඔය කොළ ටිකම තමයි අපි continue කරන්නේ. From 17th onwards you have to move to your tute. හරි? ඒතර 17th එද්දි 17th live එක වෙද්දි හැමෝගෙම අතේ tutes තියෙන්න ඕනේ. You will be getting such a lovely tute pack, including the workbook, the past paper question book, and the comprehensive tute that we developed. Okay, right. For the newcomers who joined us after O levels, right, after results or whatever, right, they have to purchase the Unit 1 Atomic Structure course. It's a one-time payment, right? So that tutes and everything will be shipped to your place. You have to do, there are 15 video lessons. You have to cover it up at the end of August. So I'm giving you 3 months. You can do it at the end of September. That I don't mind. But try to finish it off at the end of August within the period of 2 months. That's more better. But if not, you finish it off at the end of September. You can take 3 months. No worries. Harry, that's a self-study course. For the earlier students who continue the process from March onwards, they have to go with this bonding lesson plus spot test 2, unit test, and day past papers from 3rd one to 10th one. Day past paper 4 will be uploaded within several days. That has to be completed by next Friday. Day past paper 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, etc., etc. Right. Today, from 6:15 to 7, in between 6:15 to 7, I'll be discussing the day past paper 3. That discussion will be uploaded to your WhatsApp channel as well. Right. That will be there from the electromagnetic waves. Chapter 3 of first lesson we discussed within the month of April. අපි April month එකේ කරපු අර electromagnetic waves කියන first lesson එකේ third chapter එකෙන් තමයි day past paper 3 එක අද අපිට තියෙන්නේ. Okay. Right. Physical students. Is everything clear? Yes, fine. හරි. අත උස්සන්න බලන්න, raise your hands if you understood it very well. අද දවසේ උගන්වපු ටික හොඳට තේරුණා නම් මේ බ්‍රේක් ඩවුන්ස් අරවා මේවා බොන් ස්ට්‍රෙන්ත්ස් ඔය ටික. Okay. Right. Now I'm looking for the live. හරිද? හරි. මට live එකේ ඉන්න කට්ටිය කියන්න පුතා, I need the responses from everyone. Was it very clear? How was it? We just began the second lesson, which is very important. Okay. So I need the responses from everyone, each and everyone. Just drop a message there, whether you understood it clearly or not. Was everything clear? Good. Okay, right. Anyway, so I'm done for the day, right? We'll continue whatever the things next Friday, 3 to 6. We have a 3-hour slot on next Friday as well. Okay, right. Okay, Buddha. Go safely then. Cheers. All right. Have a lovely week.